everybody again. I'm glad that we're able to get together. This is like a second panel of this type. We had a panel of male veterans a few months back, and that was a good opportunity. This one, not as many folks in attendance, but we still have some people coming in. I really want to thank the panelists for volunteering their time to be here, and to thank you people in the audience for coming. This is kind of arranged in conjunction. We have a Veterans Committee here on campus, and of course with the Veterans Resource Center and the help of our Student Veterans Club here on campus. And the whole goal is to try to get information out about veterans, to help professors on the campus be able to work more closely with veterans in their classrooms, and to create a dialogue. And I think I'd like to thank you for being here and filming this, because we can get this out to people who didn't make it. Because there are a lot of people on campus who are very interested in what the veterans experience is like here at the school. So thank you to everybody for being here, and I think it's going to be very interesting. I think just having the dialogue turns out to be really interesting.
The only thing we wanted to add is CalVet for women, it's a women's roster, and it's basically meant for just California veterans that are women. It's the most, not underfunded, but most underused benefits in the state of California. They have a special fund just for women, and it gives them all kinds of help with children care and paying their bills and medical care that are just specific to them. So if you do know any women veterans in your classroom, if you want to direct them to me, I can get them set up with CalVet. It takes a couple months, but then they'll start receiving information and they can apply for benefits that are not, they're like grants. They don't have to pay them back because it's their, right to have. So I just want to add that.
What is your name and email address?
I will let you again, but I'm Professor Whitfield. I'm with the culinary department.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
I'll put
Okay.
it up on the
Because
board at the end.
all my students are online.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, they can
and
always
I can
email.
identify the vets because it
Right.
says that.
Right.
Yeah, I'll put my email address up on the board at the end.
Sure.
And, yeah, and phone number if you guys need it.
Okay.
Okay? All right. So first we'd like them to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about their military background, if they could.
Okay, I'll go first. I'm Anna Gallo. I was in the Navy for 5 years. I served in the U.S. Navy on board the USS Nimitz aircraft carrier the whole time. I did 2.5 deployments. And I've been going to Mesa for about a year and a half. This will be my last semester before I transfer. And I guess that's me.
Oh, and reason for leaving the military?
I joined the military to get the GI Bill. And then I extended for an extra year just to finish out a deployment. And once that was done, it was like mission accomplished and go to school.
Thank you.
I'm Selena. I served in the military for 8 years. I was in the U.S. Navy. I can't remember all my commands, but I was not too many of them. And let's see. I did 2 deployments. My reason for leaving was it was just time for me to go. So I did 8 years. I felt like that's enough. I gotta go.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Lauren Roberts. I was in the U.S. Air Force for 6 years. I was a wingless stationed at Fort Gordon, Georgia. I didn't travel much through my job. I traveled vicariously through like all my friends in the military who got to travel. But I didn't deploy, and my reason for leaving was I wanted to get out and go to school. I kind of felt like I did my time and I was done. And then also a year before I got out, I found out that I was pregnant, so I was like, I'm definitely getting out because I wanted my kid to be like raised around my family, and I don't want to be jumping from place to place.
Hi, I'm Trina Pugh. I was in the Army for 2 years. I did 2 years in the Army. I got out because of some medical issues with my hips and my legs. I joined the military because it's a family tradition. Most of the women in my family are in the Army. And that's it.
Hello, my name is Joan Freeman. I retired from the Air Force in 1996, probably before a lot of them were born. I was stationed overseas in Europe for 8 years, 5 years in Germany, and 3 in Holland. All my children were military brats. I was a single parent pretty much the whole time in the military because I ended up getting divorced. I came to Mesa College because I love to cook, and I heard they had a good culinary program, and it is an excellent program. So I retired, as I said, in '96, and I was tired of financial management, so I wanted to change my career. And right about that time, the VRAP program came along, which was the Veterans Retraining Program, which I fit within that category, ages 35 to 60. So I took advantage of that. I've been here a long time, 3 years. It's taken me a while because I can't take a heavy load because my learning, I won't say disability, but my learning disadvantage because I'm a little older, so it takes more time. But I'm here to finish my associate's degree, and I guess that's it.
Thank you. We'll go ahead with our very first question, and what our process will be, we'll kind of go down the line of panelists just like we did with the intros, and then if there are any questions on that one particular topic, feel free to ask them. I think one of the valuable parts is the dialogue that we can kind of follow. So that very first question is, how is the adjustment to civilian life for college been for you?
Those first few months, I went straight from the Navy to the next month college. And that first month was probably the hardest because you come to school and you change your whole lifestyle. You have someone who is always giving you orders in the military. There's someone always above you and telling you, this is what you need to do, this is how you're gonna live. And I was living on a ship where I was sleeping, working, eating, and then all of a sudden I got out, and it felt like complete freedom, and I didn't really know what to do with that. So that was something that was really hard. Finding other people who I could relate to. I felt like coming to school, the scariest part, I'm going to go to school with a bunch of 18-year-olds, and I feel like I don't fit in. And this first few months, I was terrified until I got to know like the VRC, and I got to know about other people who were veterans, and I was surprised at the number of veterans in this school. And I think the transition from going from living someone else's life for me to complete freedom was the scariest yet most exciting and hardest struggle in the transitioning period.
For me, it was kind of hard, but then at the same time it was, because I got out in July 2012. Come August 2012, I was fully enrolled, taking 12 credits. My husband was going to school here. Just like Anna, I was thinking to myself, oh my God, I spent 8 years in the military. I took classes, but they weren't like college classes. So I figured I'm gonna come, I'm gonna be the oldest person in class, I'm gonna be so far behind, I'm gonna be so lost, don't know what's going on. Back in 2012, the VRC wasn't around yet, so I really didn't have anyone to talk to besides my husband, and he's on a totally different major than I am, so, we're like two opposite ends of the spectrum, He's taking his classes here, and I'm taking different classes over there, and we can't really see each other unless it's for a 5-minute break in between classes. So it was hard. It was difficult, I don't relate to anyone that just got out of high school, because I'm on like a different mindset than 18, 19-year-olds. So it was kind of hard for those first, I want to say 2 semesters that I was here. So.
My transition was pretty drastic because not only was I getting out of the military for the first time, but I was becoming a mother for the first time, and a single mother at that. I just had my son was actually born on my contract end date, but I got permission from my command to get out a couple months early so I could transition, so I could be in San Diego and have my son and be all settled before I got So I got to stay home with him for like 4 months, and then I had him in September, and then I started going to Mesa in the spring. So I had a good amount of time to be at home with him, but it was still really intimidating. I just like them, I felt like I'm not gonna be able to relate to anybody, just because I thought there was gonna be such an age difference. But I think the most surprising thing to me was not only that there's a lot of veterans at the school, but there's a lot of people of different ages. Like, I think that was really comforting. Yeah, so it was intimidating. But once I started to get to know the VRC and all the resources that we have, I think that made the transition so much easier, so much easier.
My transition still to this day is pretty difficult for me because I'm just used to somebody telling me what to do constantly. And having such professors, like I'm scared to talk to them, so I'm not sure what their reaction is going to be until I met like Chef Tanya. She's made it easier for me to transition into college and to ask my professor questions and not to be afraid to ask my professors any questions. But like I said, I'm used to somebody telling me what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. She's just making it easier for me to speak up in class and talk in class. I wasn't aware of the amount of veterans on campus, and like I said, I was in the Army. I don't see too many Army people out here either, so it's kind of hard to find a buddy. But when I joined the culinary program, I met many buddies, so now I have a couple buddies in the culinary program. So the transition for me is still ongoing, and it's getting easier every day as I come to school. My motivation level is higher than last semester. Like last semester, I almost stopped coming here because I just wasn't transitioning well enough. But I got my bars up, and I met like Chef Tanya and some people in the culinary department to keep me motivated coming here. So my transition is still going right now, and it's getting easier every day as I do come to school.
For me, being that I retired so long ago, I didn't have a transition from military life. My transition was just coming to college, period. Changing my careers and coming to college, period. First semester was tough. Getting used to going back to school again, because I graduated in '73. And that's the last time I really went to structured school. But Mesa College made it very easy for me to transition because not just the veterans are advantage, but just all my instructors and all the professors and everybody was just so helpful and just helped my transition really great. And I offer what I can to all my fellow veterans and all the students. As I said, being my age, and I'm able to relate to all of our experiences because I am a veteran and because I am a student too. So we help each other to transition.
I have a related story. I was in the Navy on an aircraft carrier, and so I got a slight early out so I could go to the University of Missouri. And so my wife and I were in student housing there. And the funny story is one weekend, University of Missouri is in Columbia, smack dab in the middle of the state. So it's 124 miles to St. Louis, and it's 124 miles to Kansas City. And so my wife and I decided to drive 124 miles to go see a hockey game over in St. Louis Blues. And everybody there, they were shocked, and they said, we wouldn't travel that far unless we went on vacation. And we couldn't understand them because I had been all over the world by then. And I said, what's 124 miles? It's only a 2-hour drive. They just couldn't figure that out. Anyway, it was just a funny little story that I still remember from a few years back now.
It's so true.
I was gonna say something from. I think it's really impressive that you took on 12 units. I think one of the things that helped me with my transition was I took baby steps just because I was like, I have never been a mother. I've never been out of the military. I don't know what my workload. I don't know how I'm going to be able to handle a workload or what the size of the workload I should be. So I think I started out taking 4 classes and then I dropped one because I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to I should feel it out first. So I guess just a little piece of advice is there's nothing wrong with taking a little starting out with a little bit and then working your way up, because now I'm taking I'm definitely above full time now, and I'm still, you know, I'm still a mother, and I can juggle it fine.
It was hard.
Yeah.
I even talked to my husband and stuff about it, and he was just like, "Why are you gonna take 12?" You know, but I was like, "I can do it." Yeah, but after that semester, I didn't take 12. It was just too much, you know. It was. I had just gotten out, so I was still in that, you know, waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning for some odd reason, you know, going to bed at midnight, you know. And so I was just like, oh, okay, I can't do this. But yeah, after that, my other semesters, I broke it down, sometimes 8, sometimes 10. You know, it was too much. But I thought, yeah, I can do this. This isn't going to be hard. Because, you know, when I was in the military, I took classes that they offered on the boat, and they were like bird classes. You show up, you do some work, and you pass. So I thought, okay, I can do that, you know? But yeah, it was hard. It was hard.
You, all of you had the same thing, that you had problems identifying with the other students because they didn't have the same background you did, and I know that's why the Veterans Resource Center is so important. But I want to share with you the fact that I teach classes daytime, which a lot of them are high school graduates, never worked a day in their lives, have no idea what a paycheck is, don't know about a bank account. I have night classes, which is more of a mixture, but a lot of my students who are working have problems identifying with the kids that have never worked a day in their life. So in a way, they're going through the same transition you are. The difference being where you said somebody always told you where to be and when to wake up and when to go to bed. They don't have that part of the identity. But there's still so many little groups that make up our community here at school, Amy School, that it's too bad there aren't more of how to identify with our group type things. You know, so you're not alone. And thank you all for serving too, but you're not alone, not just because of veterans, but because of other people that can't identify with some of our students either.
I wanted to say, I had to do the experience the other way around. Because of the VRAP program, you had to have at least 12 units.
Okay.
So I had to come in taking those 12 units until the VRAP program expired.
Okay.
So my first 3 semesters, I had to carry, and it was hard. It was tough for me coming in, you know, fresh, having to carry those 12 units. So I kind of backed down a little bit because it was very difficult, and that's what's taken me so long.
And Joan, thanks for bringing that up, because I went to school as a war orphan because my father had died in the service. So I went to school under veterans, and we had to carry a minimum of, and I think it was 12 or it was 13 at that time. Because if it's an odd number, you couldn't do it with just 3-unit classes, 4 of them. You had to take like 1 more.
Yeah, thankfully the GI Bill, you can, I mean, you won't get paid as much for not going full time, but you still have the option of like not taking as many classes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll move on to our second question.
You want to do the second one, or you just want to sit there and listen to that one?
Okay, so we're gonna skip down to the third one because we've already kind of answered why you're here at Mesa. What has been the biggest struggle in coming to campus, and maybe not even just coming to campus, but going to class? Like, is there a struggle within the class for you to actually attend? Parking. That's everybody.
Universal.
For teachers too.
I guess it goes back to the whole age thing. I remember the first semester, it's the whole mindset thing. Like, you're out of the military, you gave yourself that time, and for some reason, the military just makes you grow up, regardless if you get out at 23 or 63 or who knows, right? But the problem that I had, and it's kind of like how you were saying that there's so many different little groups. The younger people who I felt like were just coming to community college just to like waste time or to like just wait till they figure out what they were doing. And I'm here, and I gave 5 years just so I could get this and go to school and afford it. And there's people who are in the classes and don't respect the teacher or don't respect the time in class and don't respect the actual like learning environment, and that's something that I had a very hard time dealing with, because in a way I'm like, I'm paying for this, I did this, and I deserve to get the full education that I'm signing up for without someone interrupting or trying to make class more fun for them. But that's a struggle that I've had in class. Coming to campus has been pretty easy because I live down the street.
So we're parking at your house, right?
Yeah.
I'd say one of the biggest struggles was when most of my classes, we had to do some kind of like group activity, group project, and I thought, hey, I was in the military, I could do groups. This is cool, you know, but goes back to what Anna said. There were students who were just, you know, coming in thinking, oh, this class is gonna be a breeze, you know, not putting in that effort, not putting in their time, not putting in, you know, like, everyone is supposed to contribute and you're not contributing, and I'm not gonna fail because you don't want to contribute. That was my, you know, attitude towards it. So, you know, there's a lot of times where I had to get on some students like, hey, look, I done dropped this money on this class. I'm gonna need you to show up, do your work, okay, because this A is not gonna become an F because you don't want to do this work. But, you know, I think it just goes back to the age difference. And then a lot of the times it's work ethic too, you know, that's what we learn in the military. You come, you show up, you do your work, you know, you give 110%, and that's it. There's no, you know, there's nothing else. There's not 80%, you give 110. You know, and I just feel like not everyone has that work ethic when you come to school. So, and sometimes it's younger students and sometimes it's older students who are coming to college for the first time that haven't been in the military either. So, that's my struggle. Now I look at group projects like, oh.
Thankfully, I haven't had that experience with any people on my group projects. I haven't had very many group projects, but yeah, I haven't, or people being disruptive. Thankfully, like I've been here for a year, and all my classes and professors have been really, really amazing. But I think the biggest struggle, I don't think this is just a veteran struggle. I think it's just probably like a mother struggle, is like dropping your kid off, coming here, and then a lot of the time my father lives in Mexico, so a lot of the time I'm like coming back and forth from the border. Like if I stay there for a couple days out of the week, that's definitely a struggle. I don't know anybody who has to commute like that. But in terms of like that being a campus problem, or like, I mean that affects with like attendance, you know, if anything's going on with your kid, or if you know you have a family or whatever, that obviously affects you being able to be in class on time or be in class at all. Period.
I would have to agree with the two young ladies down here. It's the mindset of the students. It's difficult to learn in an environment where the professor's not being respected, or when the professor's teaching and then there's students behind him talking and you're trying to pay attention, but then when you do bring it up to the professor, you don't want to start a conflict with the student and just disrupt the class so you don't say anything. That's been my struggle in some of my classes. I just wish that students would just respect the learning environment, period. I mean, it's an education. Either some are getting paid, some aren't, some are struggling to pay for these classes, but at the same time, you have some students who just don't care, they just show up just to say they're coming here. And I just feel like they're wasting my time, because like she said, we dropping this money on these classes and you have these people who just don't care. And that just bothers me. And it kind of brought my demeanor down, like, dang, I don't even want to go to class today, because I already know I'm gonna get into one of these people that's talking while I'm trying to learn this math. You know, but I'm adjusting to it. I'm learning how to deal with it, but that's one of my struggles when it comes to like coming to campus or whatever. I don't have a problem getting here. I don't have a problem with parking because I get here early anyway, so I'm good with the parking and coming here. It's just the learning environment I just wish was more respected within the school.
And just to chime on to basically what the other ladies have said, the biggest struggle is just the difference between our structure and our values and our ethics, because we were in the military. We have been conditioned pretty much, to do things a certain way. And when you come someplace else where the individuals are not as structured as you are, then it tends to, give you heartaches, because you want to do well, you want to succeed, you're programmed to succeed. So it just makes it a little difficult for you, and that's because of our military training and our military.
And cell phones too. Oh my
Oh,
gosh,
yeah.
I can't stand cell phones in the classroom. Like, I was in math, and all day long, we had this girl, she would just, on her cell phone all day long, playing Candy Crush. I was just like, dude, come on, really?
I try not to I don't even let that stuff phase me. I'm just like, I see it as like a maturity thing. Like, obviously, like, she doesn't care or whatever. But I'm always that student that's like, just like, I feel like it's just me and the teacher, like, and then whoever, you know what I mean? Like, but that's how I deal with it, at least. I just don't
It's a good
even,
method.
I pay it no mind.
I just, because I'm focused on one
Unless
thing,
it's like,
and then
unless
something
she's
catches
right
my
next
eye,
to
and
you.
I'm like,
I have one professor that he's like, I've taken him twice already because he's so good and he knows how to make the classroom environment on point, and you just, time goes by so quick and you learn so much. And he does it like storytelling, but from the beginning he's like, this is my cell phone, I'm turning it off, why you guys turn it off? And if he sees anybody, he's like, no computers, no iPads, no electronics, put it all away, and he'll put you on blast too.
And some classes you can't do that. Like my English class last semester, like it's very heavily group, all the students' opinions and their input matters. But that class was also amazing too. I guess I don't have very many bad experiences to go off of.
Who was your teacher?
Cox, Dr. G. Cox.
If we run into him, let's say they say good things about you.
He's very good.
I just have one question. Do you guys find that with your structure, that I know Joan does it because I watch her do it every day, you try to take the ones that are less mature and bring them to your level, or do you find yourself coming down to their level at any time?
No. If I see someone struggling, I'll be like, no, and I'm good at math, so I do that in math a lot. Like literally everyone around me, I'm always like, if they're asking questions or something, then if I can see that I can see it in their face, they don't understand it, I'll try to break it down in my terms. So I try to I guess I try to bring them to my level,
So I know that's what we do in the military. We
Yeah.
bring people up. We don't come back down.
Yeah.
But like I said, I watched Joan do it in the culinary classes. She's called Mama Joan over there. I mean, seriously, they respect her. They show her, respect. So I just want to see if you guys have the same experience.
I mean, if someone is struggling in the class, I'll help you. But if you're being disrespectful and I'm asking you to, be quiet and you snap off at me,
Yeah.
it's not gonna work.
Right.
I've actually, in one of the classes, I was taking this art class, and this kid, just everything the professor said, he was just like, no, you're wrong. We were taking, it was like one of those 3-hour classes twice a week, and I'm like, I can't deal with this kid. 3 hours twice a week. So I pulled him aside, and I was like, you are being a pain in my...
Yeah.
And ever since that, I was like, you need to respect the classroom environment. Just let the teacher do his thing. If you don't agree, keep it to yourself. And ever since that, he's just kind of been, he was pretty good. But in group projects, because I was in the military, I find that I end up trying to be the leader of it.
Yeah, you become the group leader.
But then you end up
so
doing all the work.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh man, I ended up doing all the work.
Yeah.
We had a question.
The only comment I have about military students is there's no guarantee that they're going to end up at the top of the class, but because of their work ethic, they get the things done. And I teach managerial accounting, and there's a lot of work. It's a learn by doing class. And so I can pretty much count on the veterans to get through all that stuff. Where I got a good example was last night we had an exam. The veterans, they all did it early. They did it early. They had a week to do the exam. One of my students, the exam was due at 11:59 last night, and he started the exam at 11:04.
Wow.
This is a 100-minute exam. And you got 28 points. Amazing. So it's a massive contrast between the students who have been in the military or who have worked other places, and they can sort of plan their work and they know how to work out that plan compared to the students fresh from high school who really haven't had to do that. It's really
It helps you
amazing.
be organized and keep yourself on track, and if you
You
don't, you
bet.
kind of feel like, I don't
Yeah.
know, it's just like instilled in you.
I just want to add something. A couple of you said that some of the students come in without a work ethic. You're not sure why they're here. The reason they are here is basically mom and dad have said, we'll pay for college, but if you don't go to school, you're moving out.
Oh, I could totally see that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so they're here just so they don't have to move out, so they don't have to get a job, and so their insurance is paid for. But if mom and dad put down their foot and said, no, for every year that you're in, I'm gonna pay less until you are on your own feet, we'd have totally different attitudes.
Hmm.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, our next question, what kind of good or bad classroom experiences have you had?
I've been really lucky, and I've loved every single class that I've taken, even if it was a subject that for some reason I just didn't want to do. I got really lucky. Every professor that I've had has been so passionate about everything they taught that it makes you passionate as well, and it makes something like statistics, which not my thing. It still even makes you care about it and want to learn it and want to know more just because of the passion that they have for it. I mean, I've considered coming to school. I think the easiest way to transition was considering school like a job, since getting paid for it. So I figured do as much as possible and do the best at it. And I mean, for me, going to school is a job, so I have no excuse but not to have like good experiences and give it my all.
I think besides what we spoke about earlier, I haven't really had any bad experiences. I've had great
Good ones, great ones?
Great ones. Yeah, great ones. Professor Maxstraw, she was a great math teacher. She was the math teacher I had when I first came into the campus. She was awesome. Professor Wynn, she was awesome as a math teacher too. Like, I'm telling you, after high school, I thought I was done with math. So they put it on board for me. Like, okay, and they made me believe like, hey, you're a mathematician. You can do this. And I can. I figured out, hey, I'm pretty good with math. Professor Tucker, she's awesome English teacher. So I always felt like I did not know how to write an English paper, and I guess I do. So those are my great experiences.
I've had nothing but like really amazing experiences with all my my classes. But I think the thing is like, I think what makes that possible is like your mindset. Like I'm very, I can't take online classes because I'm really interactive with my teachers. Like I ask so many questions, and I notice like if you, basically if you have like a good, if you have a positive method of like trying to learn and doing your best, like you really affect the others around you. I know my English class last semester was like that. Like everyone was feeding off of each other. Like if you're contributing, someone finds that interesting and they contribute, and it just becomes like a really good experience. So I think because I've had such good experiences was like my contribution to make that possible.
My experiences here has been pretty good for the most part. I have no bad experiences coming here. The professors are really, they care about you if you talk to them. If you don't talk to them, you'll never know. I went to Chef Tanya and I had a problem with the math class, and she hooked me up. So now I have no problems with math, really. I have that tutor sitting right there whenever I need some help. So what I've learned is you got to speak up. Because if you don't, then nobody's going to know what you're going through. So my experiences here have been pretty good for the most part.
And I've had all wonderful experiences here at Mesa. My first semester, I went to City College, and I took a Black Studies class, and the professor, he was a potty mouth. I just couldn't take it, you know. It was hard on me because every other word was this, and I'm like, wow. Being a professor, you know, trying to teach us, talking like that. So that was the only bad class that I have had, and that was at City. I haven't had any bad experiences here at Mesa. All the professors, all the staff has been very supportive, and like Trina says, if you don't let them know that you're having a personal situation, they can't work with you. So we have to learn that there are instructors, but there are also people, and they have personal situations just like we do. But unless we open up and let them know, then they can't help us. But Mesa has been wonderful.
I was gonna, I just remembered something with you talking. Also, not only having an interaction with the, having an interaction with the teacher in front of your classmates, I think, like, you know, when you ask questions and stuff like that, I think that makes it less intimidating for the other students. Because I've noted, like, people have come up, like, they've come up to me after class and be like, can you help me with this? Like, and I think that's, like, honestly, like, that was, like, the most, I felt like, oh my God, like, wow, people, like, really are, like, impacted by me asking questions. Like, I found, like, that made my experience really good as well.
And I find that too. A lot of times students will say, Miss Jones, we're sure glad you asked that question. We wanted to ask it, but we're glad you did ask it. I said, don't worry, if I have a question, I'm gonna ask.
I think
No
a lot,
matter.
I think a lot of students, they feel lost and like everyone's quiet, so that everyone's like, oh my, they're thinking like, I'm the only one who doesn't understand this because obviously no one's saying anything about it. But if you don't understand it, vocalize it, and you'll be surprised how many other people don't understand it as well.
And from being at the front of the classroom as the teacher, you see the looks of relief
Yeah.
on people's faces when someone does ask the question.
Well, I think that because we did come here with a mentality of putting all our effort in, this is why we haven't had bad experiences, but also going back to, well, yes, they're young people here, but I mean, they go from high school to college, and it's okay for the relationship between the professor. It doesn't have to be so, like, in high school, like, this is a teacher and they're kind of like a parent. But here, a lot of people don't get that, and that's why a lot of people don't get comfortable asking questions.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, in the military, we have to ask questions. We're not just going to wing something, because it could just mess everything up, and we can get in so much trouble. So we're taught that if we don't know how to do something, we will ask and find out how to do it so we can do it the right way.
Yeah, one thing, a little bit of feedback from teachers. So I teach here at Mesa. I'm retired Navy, so I run a very structured class. But one of the things that we learned in the Navy, and I know you learned in the Navy too, was communication. Because everybody's job depends on everybody else. So if people aren't talking back and forth, things get dropped through the crack and things don't get done right. And so that's what I try and stress. And I think you can pass out to other students, other veterans, or just students who aren't, that it's important to communicate. I try to stress, if a student sends me an email, I'll answer them right back. I'm really happy. At least somebody's talking to me.
I feel like I don't like sending emails to my professors because it just seems so impersonal when the professor's right there in class, you know. You spend 2 minutes before class or 2 minutes after class just to say, hey professor, you know, this chemistry problem that you did, not getting it, can we meet up one time at office hours and can you explain it to me briefly then? You know, I just feel like I can't express my feelings through email, you know, because it just gets jumbled up. There's no emotion in the email, or there's, you know.
Well, one important thing to think about on that, I'm adjunct. So it means I have an office here on campus, quote unquote, but I'm rarely there because I'm only on campus a couple of days a week. And so I try to make myself available when I'm not on campus. But I know a lot of students have problems on other days of the week. And so I'm glad that they just send me an email. So I try and make myself available that way.
Mr. Lancaster, you're more than welcome to use the VRC as a meeting place. And we also have, you know, printing facilities too. If you want to share that with your students.
Okay, yeah, I was going to talk to you about that
Okay.
afterwards.
What facilities?
I'm sorry.
We have so a lot of adjuncts don't have access to either printing or copying.
Right.
So we offer that to.
Who's we?
The Veterans
Veterans
Center.
Resource Center.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, I was just gonna share something about the questions, and the reason why, at least I, as a professor, welcome the questions. I have a teaching style, but there are several different learning styles in the classroom. And so a lot of times my teaching style will not match your learning style, but if you ask me the question, I can switch my teaching style so that you get it. And that might help all the students in the class who have the learning style that you have. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
It
but,
does. It really does.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and I noticed too, sometimes asking questions isn't like part of the teacher's teaching style. I know my economics teacher, he's amazing, and professor, he's amazing, but he's like strictly like just giving it, like he's just strictly about like powerhousing it out and putting it all on the board and explaining it. And so it's really hard for me to interject. I've noticed, I'm like, okay, don't do that. Don't do that. But it's not, it's because it's, most of the time it's like he's gonna answer your question anyways. So, of course, asking questions is a good thing, but sometimes different teachers' teaching styles, it's not the best. Like, you can find out when to do it, I guess.
And as far as your emails, like one of my classes only meets once a week. And if a student is being conscientious in doing the homework and something just does not make sense to them, I want them to send me the email. Because then we can cover it in class, but in the meantime, it might help them get ready for the class.
That's very true.
Any other comments?
Have you had any positive relationships, not experiences, but relationships with any faculty members? Anyone in particular? I know you guys named quite a few, but has anyone personally affected you versus, in the classroom?
A couple. I've actually, I guess because of that question interaction and actually getting more comfortable every time you ask a question afterwards, you get more comfortable speaking to them, and then they start finding more about you, and they're like, oh, you're a veteran, experiences, and they feel like they really take on the role as a teacher in a more personal level, in a way that they really want to push you and they want to motivate you. I've taken this art professor like 3 semesters now, and he ended up writing my recommendation letters for the schools that I applied to, and helped me with even like another class with like Photoshop or Illustrator, and just kind of like pushing to the point where like, you could do this, you can learn this, I know it seems hard. He was a veteran as well, so he got it. And then I also had this other professor, Anita Plagge. She's honestly the most amazing person. I've never been so pushed to learn something that I did not like.
That is a good teacher.
Yes, she made biology fun. She made biology, it was such a fun class, such a good experience, and I ended up learning so much. Because usually after the class is done, you kind of throw all that information away. But no, like I ran into her yesterday, and she's like, hi, tell me about this and that, and we were talking about the owl on the top of the building and all that. And I don't know, she was just one of those teachers that just kind of made everything fun. Like coming to class was fun because it's like, what is Anita gonna say today, you know? But
I would have to say my chemistry professor, Professor Holloway, he was really cool. I took one chemistry class in high school that was many moons ago, and I felt, man, this chem class is gonna just blow my brains out. I don't know what I'm gonna do. So, but I got to the class, and I still remember all his little, shortcuts that he taught us. I remember all the things that he said, so we can remember this, Calvin is greater. So he was a pretty awesome teacher. And then on top of that, he shared a personal side, of his life with us about his son and how he dealt with his son and autism. And, my stepson has autism, so it was very informational and informative, to get that feedback from him, like, this is what we did. If you want to try this, you can do it this way and stuff, because we didn't know what to do, with my stepson and his autism. So it was really great. It was really great. We built up a really good rapport. So it was awesome.
I know I've mentioned my English teacher like 5 times, but Professor John Gregg, he was really amazing. I think the fact that he was just so passionate about what he was teaching, it just motivated me. Because in high school, I haven't been in school since high school, since before I got out of the military, and in high school I had a huge passion for learning, and I felt like being in the military, that kind of like, I just lost it, like, not lost it, but I lost that passion for learning as much. Like, I felt like it wasn't in me necessarily, but having taken his class, I really, like, it just, like, brought it back out in me. And, like, he had a real big impact on me. And he wrote my letter of recommendation, because I just applied to USD, and he wrote a recommendation for scholarships, which I just won too, so he's helped me out a lot personally in big ways.
Positive relationships. All I have to say was with Chef Tanya. My main reason for coming to Mesa was to learn how to cook. I know how to cook things, but to learn how to cook, she gave me that, to get that passion. Like, she makes me want to learn how to cook, and then she teaches you how to cook. So now, like, my cooking skills went from here to here in a matter of weeks, like literally weeks. I'm cooking stuff I've never cooked before. For example, I made challah bread. I don't even know what that bread was called. I didn't know how to say it, but my mom went and bought me a KitchenAid, and I said, I'm about to make some challah bread. And I went out and bought me a scale, and I brought all the ingredients, and I made some challah bread. And the whole time I was making it, we had to write a paper on critical thinking in the kitchen. And so the whole time in my kitchen, I was thinking about Chef Tanya while I was making this challah bread. Don't burn the butter. Clarify your butter. All this stuff was going through my head, but when I made it, my house was smelling good too. It smelled like bread in my house. Okay, so I met this lady, and she's up at Mesa, and she can cook her ass off. Like, she's making me motivated just to keep cooking. Like I said, I wanted to learn how to cook. Like, go back into a book and read a book, learn how to cook it, get this recipe, and make magic. And I'm doing that, and it's motivating me to just keep coming here, going to her classes, and try to give my best in her class or whatever. And I didn't think a teacher, a professor, or an individual would have that type of impact on me wanting to learn more. And like, I feel really blessed to have this class, because like I'm telling, my mom is a really good cook. My mom, my grandmother, my mom. You guys just don't know I can make some stuff. I've been working on some oatmeal for a whole week, because I really like oatmeal. And I only knew how to eat it sweet until I met Chef Tanya. She was like, no, we're gonna make it savory. And so now I've been having all types of oatmeal in my house. And it's just, I don't know, I don't know if I'm going to do like a woman thing or whatever, but I just love cooking, and so, I don't know, thank you.
And I'm the same. Chef Tanya has been a positive influence on me.
See, I picked
also.
those two ladies.
Yes. Last semester, taking 110, which is our lab class, I was nervous about taking it. I've been cooking my whole life, but I've never actually worked in a restaurant. So I felt intimidated to take the lab class because of all the other students who have worked in restaurants. And Chef Tanya kept telling me, oh, don't worry, be confident, you can do it, you can cook. I said, okay. But in the course of the class, she helped me build my confidence and realize that I am a good cook. You know, I'm in these classes to learn to be a chef. I already have the cooking skill, and by being in class, it would just build the knowledge that I need to become a chef. So you have been so inspirational to me. We have become friends. We communicate with each other. Her daughter is a little bit, and we become friends. And I just thank you for encouraging me last semester, because this semester I'm even more confident, and I feel that I can do it.
You guys are all future somethings. You know, you're future chefs, you're future economists, or whatever your desire is. We're here just to help you get there.
But I think it makes it the journey more interesting and fun when you do find a teacher that you can relate to, that's going to motivate you to accomplish your goal. Because I came here just, well, I'm going to take this, whatever. But when I met her, I'm like, wow, okay, this is, I feel good coming here. I have not missed a day of school since I've been coming here. Like, I make sure I come every day. And it's the faculty, it's the staff, it's the teachers that makes you want to come and sit in their class and let them teach you.
And I also have Professor Mayasa and Professor Lewis, Black Studies Department. They are two wonderful individuals also. Along with Chef Tanya, they have all inspired me to bring out the good in me and the person that I am. And the three of them, wonderful ladies, have encouraged me and supported me and enabled me and tell me all the time, age is nothing. You know, you are what you are inside, and you do what you have inside. And they have all encouraged me to forget about the age and just to go on and do what I can do, to be me and achieve what I can achieve as me.
I was gonna, I wanna just say one thing. I mean, I'm sure, I know that teachers know what an impact they have on the students. I think that's why they're doing what they're doing. But when they're really passionate about what they love, it doesn't even matter, just like you were saying, like it motivates you in other ways, not even just like, I hate English. I really don't like English. I'm not a big reader, but he motivated me to just be passionate in other areas. And that's, I think the faculty-student relationship like that it really resonates throughout different aspects. It's not just like the subject that you're taking or the subject that they're teaching.
Just to ask you a question on that is, do you guys find that identifying yourself in the classroom is easy as a veteran or hard?
I think it's hard.
Do you think it's hard?
Mhm.
Why would you say it's hard to identify yourself?
I feel like there's some stigma put towards us, you know, like, oh, she is a vet, or oh, he is a vet. You know, they're gonna want special treatment, or this and this and that. And I don't feel like it's that, you know. We don't want special treatment. We just want to be treated equal. You know, we just want to come into the class, learn, you know, pass, get our degrees, graduate, and go back out into the workforce.
You know what? When I first started coming to Mesa, or you know, going to school again, I found myself wanting nothing to do with the military. Like, I don't want to be associated. I want nobody to know that I'm a veteran. And then as like when I started performing in class, and then that would get mentioned, I found myself like, I'm proud of it. Like yeah, like, you know what I mean? For some reason, like, I think if you want to throw that label out there, you make it something good or bad. You know what I mean? Like, like, I found myself making it contribute in good ways that, like, whatever I was talking about, like, it really highlighted the really good aspects of, like, being a veteran.
I actually said this earlier. All I've known, I mean, I joined the military at 18, right after high school. All I've known is how to be a kid or how to be a veteran, but now I'm a student, and that's what I associate myself with. That's the label I give myself. And every time I go into a classroom environment, I don't put out, oh, I am a veteran. I mean, I'm very proud because what I did, it's not something a lot of people have the courage to do, and it's not something a lot of people want to do. So I'm proud of that, and I don't find any stigma on it. I wear my being veteran with pride, but when I am in the classroom environment, I am there, and I have my mindset that I'm gonna be the best student, and I'm gonna get the highest grade, and I am gonna kick ass in this class, and I'm gonna maintain my GPA high, and it's not really, like, being a veteran has never really affected me in a negative way, or, I mean, I guess in a positive way it has, but when I'm here, I'm a student, and I'm here to, like, do my best and put myself in a situation where I'm going to feel comfortable. I will sit in the front of the class, and I will take notes, and I will study, and that's just the only option for me.
I think the only time that I had that, I guess when I said I didn't want anything to, like, at first I didn't want to associate myself at all with being a veteran. I think it's because, like, when you come out of that lifestyle, if you really, like, just want to break free from the military, like, you really just want to break free from the military. Like, you don't want anything to do with it. You don't want to hear anything. Like, you don't want to hear any, like, military jargon or anything like that. But now it's different. I think it's different. As you're transitioning, it becomes different, because if I heard, like, people talking about the military, like,
a year ago, I would just roll my eyes. Where now I'm just like, it's a little not as like, it's like, okay, like, you know what I mean? At first I'm just like, shut up, like, who cares? Like, we were all in the military.
Right.
No, yes and no. I don't know. I think I haven't figured it out yet.
To me, being a veteran is part of my life. It's part of who I am. And me, after 20 years, you know, it's been a significant part of my learning and of my experience in my life. I don't tell a lot of people that I'm a veteran, but if it comes out, I am proud to say that I am a veteran. And I'm not ashamed of it. And the idea of veteran these days is much better than it has been in the past. Now everyone seems to be more thankful and more appreciative, and it's just a whole different era for being a veteran. But I am who I am, and it is a part of my life, and it's a very important part of my life. So I am proud to be a veteran, and I'll be glad to stand up and say, yes, I am a veteran.
I don't do that in class. I don't. I am proud to be a vet. I love the military. I am so everything vets, but I can't do that. I can't. Even when I got out, I didn't like, I refuse. And sometimes to this day, I won't tell people that I'm a vet. So if they see me like hanging out in the VRC and stuff like that, then yeah, but I don't. I feel like there's too much stigma being placed on us that I just don't. I can't.
What's cool though is like, because I'm the same way, like I don't vocalize it at all. It's cool, like I think the VRC is like a really amazing place and for a lot of opportunities, but like it's cool like being like starting like this past semester, starting off your semester and like seeing all the people in the classes and then like noticing people sitting next to you in the VRC, you're like, oh, I have that class with that dude, and I didn't know that he was a veteran. And then you start talking, and then you start talking a lot because you have classes, and it's just it's kind of cool. It's cool to identify with other veterans in that sense.
So I think I've been out for over 18 years. Don't let me lie to you. 21 years. Oh my God. But you showed my age right there, right? But when I first got out, I didn't go to school. I was a machinist when I was in. So I got out and I got a machinist job, and I did that for 12 years. So that was my life. And then I said, okay, I want to go back to school. But I was much older and pushed my way through this program here on campus that these two ladies are going through. But when I was here, I didn't identify myself as a veteran, but now I find that it's important for instructors or professors to identify themselves. So I identify myself as a veteran in all of my classes. So that way, other veterans, if they're struggling, like Trina or whatever, they have somebody to go to. Yeah.
No, definitely. I think that's like a really good point because just like you, I don't want to identify, but when you do identify, it makes things a lot easier because it almost becomes a network, and I don't know, like the VRC has like been a huge, like I wouldn't have applied for scholarships, I wouldn't have applied to USD, there's a lot of things I wouldn't have done had I not gone to the VRC.
That's what it's there for, right? Yeah. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the VRC, since there are some people that don't know?
Yeah, I don't like speaking with my back to everybody, but I don't want to go
Get on the field.
Yeah, so the VRC is it's led by students, and it's for students. So it's run by student veterans, and it's all about building this community of veterans helping other veterans. I mean, within this room we have all veterans here. I used to work with Chip over on Miramar. Do you remember that, Chip?
Yeah, vaguely.
Yeah. So like I would brief the weather to the monthly pilots, and then he would, or actually I'd always go after you.
Now I remember.
Yeah. And then he taught my guys how to fly a helicopter simulator one day.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you remember that either.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we're just all about helping not only student veterans, but the veterans and the faculty as well. And if you're in any way related to a veteran, like if you're a dependent of one, or if your parents served in the military, or even if you're interested in hearing our stories about, hey, I'm looking to join the military, that's what we're about. But it's all about building a community of veterans, helping other veterans, and succeeding here in an academic setting. We offer, everything from coffee to tea to printing, and, because that's a valuable commodity here at school, as well as sometimes the culinary department blesses us with delicious meals in the afternoon. But it's just a great home away from home that we have on campus that can't get utilized in the morning enough, and we're always looking to improve it.
Good, thank you.
And there's tutoring too.
Yeah, I tutor.
I used to, before I found out about the VRC, I used to do my homework in the library, and I was just like, it was just me doing my homework in the library. Like, if I didn't know something, whatever, I didn't know it. But like now, I like ask. They can spend ask like 500 people like questions all the time.
There's
Like on my
computers
homework.
too, I think.
Yeah, there's computers, free printing. When I found out that, I was like, I'm not going to the library.
I used to have a 4-hour gap between classes. I would go take a nap at the library. Now I just go to the VRC, take a nap on the nice comfy couches. Thank you, Jerome.
Are there any resources in the vet center that you guys are looking to enhance or?
Well, we need bigger space. I think it's going to be, we're running out of space, but I don't know any other services that we're looking to enhance. We have, at this point, we have everything I need. You know, people want to drop off TVs, but we kind of want to stray away from that because we had a TV in the old one, and it doesn't like having a television there doesn't enhance, you know, the conversations that we'd have. It would evolve into watching YouTube all day.
Sure.
And that's what we kind of want to get away from. But I honestly, Ron, do you know anything else we would want?
Joan?
Enhance?
If there's instructors, professors or whatever, that have free time that would be interested in coming over and maybe doing like tutoring sessions, if they wanted to do that, we could appreciate that if we could get the professors or instructors to come over on their free time. Maybe
Joan, that's
just-
why I was kind of working on
Oh,
inviting
okay.
him over. To the guys. Oh yeah, you can hang out there.
That would help out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think things like that are being developed, you know, they're hiring, the school's hiring a veterans counselor, there's gonna be more presence of professors, a counselor there almost all the time, and lots of input from different services around college, so it's all gonna start to blossom.
One thing I would like to see is, like, at the tutoring center, they have like a tracker, so you scan your ID or something like that,
Right.
just so we don't have to, you know, write a name down, and then we can have more actual counting of, you know, hours tutored, or, you know, what people are actually utilizing the space for.
Yeah. I would like to see the VRC open earlier.
Stay
Open
another thing.
later. I noticed that it's getting really crowded because all of a sudden, all the veterans have found out about it. So more
Would-
room.
Somebody's been talking about it. I don't know.
I wonder how that got around.
Doing a good job, that's why.
Well, they put on a really good panel discussion at the beginning of the semester.
We're talking about this panel
No, it was different when it was geared towards selling the VRC.
though. I don't remember that.
Now, see,
I believe it.
these ladies have not been talking about come over to the VRC, this is what we do. And that's what the discussion at the beginning of the semester was.
That doesn't sound
Well,
like
let
me.
me alone. Let's see what we do.
Yeah.
I had a question. When you say veteran counselors, is that academic wise or emotional support,
It
things
would
like
be the
that?
academic side.
Now, do
And,
we
you know,
have like an emotional support counselor for vets that
yeah, they
you know, when
actually
we
have,
start to get
what is
anxiety
it?
and panic?
So,
Yeah.
so
They
there are
They do
two,
have-
there are two professionals at the
Right.
Student Health Center. You
Yeah.
know, until we get a bigger space for the VRC to have private rooms, I mean, there's no way we would invite, you know, a health professional in there and not provide confidentiality.
Yeah.
It's not something that I would be, or anybody at us would be comfortable with.
But there are a separate group of Veterans Administration counselors that we could get, so that's all part of what, you know, is being planned, so there's gonna be a lot of things.
Would there be a way that we can set up like a peer kind of counseling that, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's a great idea. Yeah, just I'm sure.
Because I know
everybody
like
has
we
a lot to
all
share.
deal with life
Yeah.
differently
Yeah.
and we can kind of like help each
Always
other.
help each other, so yeah, that's a great idea. That's very cool. I'm sure we can help. Any other comments, please? Yes.
I have a curiosity question. I've grown up in San Diego, we're a military town, et cetera, et cetera. And when I was at Grossmont College, we were right in the middle of the Vietnam War, so a lot of, it wasn't as many women going in at the time, so it was more the men, you know, what decisions do they have? So it was either join like the Army where you served for 3 years, or wait and get drafted, and then you only had to serve 2 years. So it was 2 years less, I mean, it was a year less. So there was a time constraint in there. But in the meantime, as we grew up, we had a lot of our friends and our parents' friends and relatives that had been in the service. And what has always struck me as a big mystery, I have no idea, was how they decided how long they were going to be in the service. And what I've kind of picked up over the years is there's a, like you mentioned, going to school, going into the service so that you could then have your college paid for. How many years does that take? Some of them had other landmarks, if you will, like one of the guys, hey, it's traditional being for 20 years. Another one, there was something going on at a 10-year mark that they were holding out for the 10 years because that was a big important milestone. And someone else said, well, if you go this many years, which I don't remember how many, you can get retirement. And someone else said, no, it takes this many years.
So
How does all of that go into your decisions as far as being in the service?
so when I first joined, I joined for 4 years, and I ended up extending for an extra year just so I could finish the deployment out. But the minimum to join is 4 years, or you would join as like a reservist and do 2 years active, 2 years inactive. But I thought, I was like, I'm just gonna do 4 years and try to get stationed in Italy and have so much fun, right? That was my plan when I joined. Well, that didn't go as I wanted, but I loved it, and I thought I was gonna do the full 20 years until one day I was like, hello, like I joined to go to school. Like there was a reason I joined, but doing the full 20 years is just pretty much retiring and finishing your time, and you could do more if you'd like. But I joined with the mindset that I was just gonna do 4 years, and I ended up staying even longer. But
I would say that the time period and the amount of time that you stay in is all an individual thing.
Right.
It's based on the individual person. Like me, when I was born and raised here in San Diego. I happened to be walking downtown one day and just walked into the recruiting station. I took the ASVAB, I scored high, and I went into the Air Force. And everyone says, how can you be born and raised in San Diego and not go into the Navy? It's like, but I did, I retired. I went in 4 years, I re-enlisted. I was enjoying the life, I was enjoying the education, I was enjoying the experiences that I was getting within the military. The family, the closeness, the esprit de corps, everything that the military does for you. And I stayed and did my 20 and retired. But each individual has a different story, a different reason, a different time period for how many years they do. So it's all an individual personal thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when you say you call it like a mystery, I just call it like life. Life dictates what you're gonna do next. And because I know a lot of people, they do it for stability reasons. Like I was gonna get out at 6 years, but then I had a kid, so I decided to stay in. Where it was opposite for me. You know what I mean? There's no reasoning. There's no specific reasoning. It all depends on the individual and pretty much life events.
mm-hmm. It's either you keep re-enlisting until you're over it, or and then people have them. It's mentality where, like the example that I gave you, someone stayed in because they had a kid to have financial stability, benefits, and all that. Where I got out because I had a kid, so my kid could be raised around my family. Whereas someone hits a 10-year mark and they go, I might as well just stay in. I'm already at 10, and then someone hits a 10-year mark and they're like, this is too much. I want to get out. It's kind of just like a job. You don't want to teach anymore. You just, I'm ready for my next step. Or I love doing this and I just want to keep doing it.
I was in New York, because I'm from New York. I'm not a U.S. citizen, so, well, I wasn't at the time. I was born in Honduras, and I was raised in New York. I hated high school. I didn't know what I was going to do with the rest of my life, because I knew I didn't want to go to college. So I went one day and I just walked into the recruiting office. There was this really good looking recruiter, and he was dressed in his full white, and I was like, that's what I want to wear.
How do that?
Man, I tell you.
Strategically planned.
And he was just walking around the block. He was talking to everybody, and in New York, it's like, well, where I grew up, there's just, there's Hispanic people everywhere. Just, all of us, we're just all over the place. So he's out there, he's dancing salsa bachata with all of us, just really getting into the community.
Sounds like a legit.
And I was like, yes, I want to do what he's doing. I want that. I want to wear the whites. I want to do what he's doing. And I went into the office. I took the ASVAB. I passed. And then when I joined, I was like, yeah, I love this. I'm gonna do this for 20 years. 8 years later, 1 kid later, and a marriage later, I'm just like, no, I think it's time for me to go. So I think now I need to be an adult. I mean, I was an adult in the Navy, but I was, a military adult. I needed to be like a real adult. I needed to be a wife. I needed to be a mother, and I just was, I couldn't go on another deployment, leave my son and my husband and all the financial, responsibility, the household responsibility and all that on him. Because I tried that for a whole deployment and it just did not work. So I felt, my place is now in the home, and that's what I have to do. So that's good.
It's funny how you say that, like, you need to be like a real adult.
Yeah.
Because when you're in the Navy, it's like you work hard, but you party harder.
I think that depends though, because people who stay in, people who retire, you mature, you know what I mean. You have, and then you look at the military in a different light. So it all depends, like your mindset, what other in life or in the military.
And I know 2 young men that they were in the service, they got out, and then they re-enlisted because they said it's too hard finding a job. At least in the military, I had a job.
Mm-hmm.
And so they went back in because of it. And I kind of think of them every time you say being an adult versus being a military adult. That was kind of them. And they didn't party hard, by the way. they weren't those kind of military people, which, I know you're all different communities. And we are an Air Force town. My dad was Air Force, and he had grown up here in San Diego. My eye doctor is a major in the Air Force Reserve.
Where was he stationed?
My dad?
Yeah.
We're talking.
Oh, okay, all right.
He was a
No more wonder.
No.
We say more?
I know the nearest is Riverside, right?
No,
Right, but that's a reserve.
March Air Force Base.
Yeah.
But I was born
okay.
at what is now Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Okay.
Same weekend as the Roswell incident, which explains a lot, I know. The Roswell incident.
Yeah, but I get asked that. I noticed there's a lot of the vets who are I haven't met. You're the first Air Force that I met. Yeah,
There's a lot of them.
I was born in LA and raised in San Diego, and everyone's like, "What? How could you be in the Air Force?"
Well,
I did the same. I really scored really high, and I scored really high.
The other
Why
interesting
not choose the Air Force?
to me was my dad was San Diego Police. He was a San Diego police officer. Pearl Harbor took place on a Sunday. That Monday, I think it was either 28 or 49 San Diego police officers resigned as police officers and went down to the recruitment station and signed up. And my dad ended up in what was then the Army Air Force.
Yeah.
And then they became their own service.
Yeah.
Then he was reserve and got called up for Korea, and that's where he didn't make it back. So, but it was Air Force.
I have to give a lot of thanks to the military, though. I think if it wasn't for me joining the military, I wouldn't have a greater appreciation for this country. I wouldn't have a great appreciation for the freedoms that we do have. I went to my country back in 2011, and I saw, how my family grew up, and I saw, the things that, I saw the house that I grew up in. I saw the areas. It was just man, I have it good. When I saw how they live day to day to day, it just made me so much more grateful for the things that I have, so much more grateful for, joining, learning what I learned. I worked on aircraft the whole time I was in there. So I'm like, this is great. Because of the military, I was able to get my citizenship. My son's a natural born citizen here. I'm just like, I met my husband there too. So, yeah.
But it's interesting too, is depending on who your recruiter is, you can get a lot of education. The man I'm named after, the Army put him through medical school. And we have a lot of others that have learned. In fact, talking about culinary arts, a good friend of mine, her husband has been teaching Navy cooks for years here in San Diego. And the complexity of their menus is if you're going to be out on what do you call it, when the ship's out for the
Unemployment?
deployment, you have to plan the menus for that entire time and have enough food with you so that you can feed everybody, and the variety of menus, because you're doing the masses versus the officers versus the special occasions. And that's what he was teaching Navy chefs. So there's a lot of schooling out there that, depending on your recruiter. Of course,
My recruiter did a good job. I was like, I had to go back and give him a high five. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure you went
Do
back
not
up.
Yeah, high five to the face.
well, the fact
No, my recruiter was awesome. He grew up in the Bronx just like me. He had it rough. He grew up, in the Bronx in the 70s, 80s, the crack epidemic and stuff like that. And, he was like, he had to go. And I had to go. I knew that I didn't want to be in New York anymore. I just didn't. So, and my family's still over there. They still have that mindset like, well, we can't leave New York. New York is just too much this, too much that. We love it here. And I'm just like, but there's so much more
there's
stuff.
a world out there.
And they just feel like I feel that way. They tell me all the time, oh, Selena, you only feel that way because you joined the military and you left and the military showed you this. Yeah, that's one part, but New York isn't everything. I mean, it's a great state, but come on.
Yeah, but we don't need more people in California.
No.
So one thing, adding on, one thing, my children, because they grew up in the military environment also, so they have a tremendous advantage over the kids their age, especially here in San Diego, where a lot of people here in San Diego have never left San Diego. And my kids have experienced so much in life, and they're able to share their experiences also with the kids their age. And the kids, they respect them because they have traveled, because they have dealt with people other than San Diegans, and because they have all these life experiences. And the military is a wonderful life. And like I say, I can't say anything but good things for it. And I thank the Lord every day for my 20 years of experience in the military, because it has made me a stronger person also.
Stronger and wiser.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other comments from everyone? We've got some paperwork we need the panelists to fill out, but I'd like to get a round of applause for panelists. I think, the things you've shared are really valuable. We've got it filmed. I appreciate the filming. We can kind of share it with other people. I know most of the campus and the district and other folks would be interested in getting to see this. It's pretty powerful stuff.
I have one last question. Do any of you ever kind of, let's say, spot a student that you think maybe the military would be a good solution for them and do some recruiting? Do you recommend a particular branch?
Yeah, probably.
I always say Marines.
Branch you were in?
I always say Marines.
No,
Like,
that's a lot.
buddy, you need the Marines.
A lot of people say, yeah, I think it depends. It depends on the person. There's a lot of factors that go into it. I'll always say the Air Force, but if you're like a guy that wants to like
No,
yeah,
you
exactly.
can't make that generalization because I taught at Air Force Base and I was a Marine, so
Yeah, and there's so
good.
many different. I joined the Air Force. I was stationed on an Army post the whole entire time, and a lot of people join the Air Force for the life, for like the fact that it's so cushy, like it's supposedly.
That is true.
Like the Air Force bases are the nicest, like the chow halls are the nicest, like yeah, seriously, like. But I was stationed on an Army post the whole time, like seriously.
There's times where I think this person needs to be put on a ship and just sailed away.
There's just so many different factors.
And I know somebody whose husband was in the Navy for 20 years, and after 19 years, somebody in the Navy realized the man had never left the continent of the United States. He had
Really?
never been on a ship, he had never been overseas.
I know
So the
someone
last
like
6
that.
months he was sent somewhere.
No, I know someone that was in supply 20 years, stationed in San Diego, never went on a ship, never went on a deployment.
That
Yeah.
sucks.
Yep.
That's sad. That's so sad.
Well, sometimes you take the person into consideration too, but our country's safer for it.
It's true.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. We still got some more food, some donuts, and some coffee. If that helps. So, we have some forms for.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having us here.
So, we do need to sign the release form.
I did not.
Video.
So if you guys make money off of it, then you want to make money on it
Yeah,
too.
okay, we'll make money.
Okay, that's-
Okay, I have to sign for a bonus to buy next week.
I know, right? It's a photo.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
This is great. I'm actually.
I had no reason to be
Yeah, we'll
nervous.
just talk about.
Yes.
So do you still go by Chip here?
Well, they call me Emmett. So how long have you been in the Marines?
I got out December 2012. When did you stop working?
I just started working up there just this past year. So the reason being is, Cubic got the contract.
You know what, though?
North Island, so I work at North Island too.
Oh, nice.
I know.
I don't know what date it is.
No, it's so